Definitely not the starters. You're on the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Welcome in. It is 100.7 The Score. It's the End of the Bench. I'm Rob Breaux alongside Jeff McGuire. Seems familiar.
Didn't we do this yesterday?
I think so. Well, a different show, maybe.
Same station, though, right?
Lucas White is here. Yeah, same station.
New producer.
Different producer.
Different producer. Okay.
Producer.
Now I'm less confused.
We've got a lot of stuff going on today, namely the Big 12 Media Days. Days is in plural. We'll be focused on the first one because Texas Tech is in action today. We'll have Brett Yormark comments shortly, I believe. And then we'll start getting press conferences and otherwise from Big 12 coaches. We'll focus on the teams that are there today. I'm sure we'll focus on the teams that are there tomorrow. But the big thing is the Red Raiders in Frisco, Texas at the Star. I believe they call it the Dallas Cowboys Global Headquarters.
Okay.
Instead of the Star. But everyone else calls it the Star. So they're live at the Global Headquarters.
Why? Why do we all call the Star not the Global Head? I'm perfectly fine calling it whatever they call it.
Yeah.
It was called the Star, right? Like before initially.
I think it's always been colloquially called the Star.
Okay.
But I believe the official name.
The official name.
Is
like
the
official.
The Dallas Cowboys. Like on the, if
on
you're
the side
mailing them a
when you roll
letter.
up. Okay. Like I get Jerry World for
Right.
Cowboy Stadium. That
Yeah.
totally makes sense. But really, it's global headquarters.
Global. Yeah.
Man. I mean, they
Not
are
international.
No, it's just global.
Not the
whole
American
place.
headquarters. Global.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You could actually say it's the universal headquarters of Dallas Cowboy Nation.
Sure, yeah. It's an international brand, I would say.
Yeah, or the
Global
Galaxy
brand.
headquarters.
Yeah, why not?
All of those would still be accurate.
Probably so, yeah. We don't know.
Man, I sure
know
hope
what's
there's
out there.
not some planet somewhere in a different
Cowboys
in a
fans.
different galaxy that is big Cowboy fans. Those guys are really disappointed.
That's why the Cowboys are so dysfunctional. It takes 7 light years to get any information from the Universal headquarters. Jerry Jones might be an alien. All right, you were on a show today
I was.
that talked to Joey McGuire.
Yes.
How
I did
was
not.
How were his feelings?
I want to make this clear.
morning?
I did not.
Sure, but you listened to it fully and we're locked in.
No, I did. So, I mean, it goes without saying that Joe McGuire is excited. I mean, that's kind of his default position. I've made the joke on air and off many times. Joey McGuire is the only person I know that wakes up in the morning and is excited about brushing his teeth. He likes the roster that he's got put in front of him. And I think the biggest takeaway from the interview we had this morning, when asked what would a successful season look like for the Red Raider football team, he said to be back here in Arlington playing at the end of the year. That would be the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think his expectations are in line with everybody else's. I also think that that would be really nice. Like, somebody asked, what are my expectations for this year? And if you're not playing in Arlington, you've done something wrong. Something tragically went wrong. And I know that one loss to the wrong team could knock you out of that. You have put the resources in. You have put the time in. You have brought the roster together. You have done all of the things that I don't want to say Big 12 championship or bust, but it's Big 12 championship game or bust. At least.
Yeah, those are high expectations and high standards. But I do agree, for the most part, I wouldn't say tragically wrong. Some things could go moderately wrong and, a mistimed turnover or whatever else. Because BYU had a really good year last year and had like 2 really bad plays.
BYU last year didn't spend the money you spent this offseason.
Well, they might have.
They might have. You are New York Yankee, LA Dodger, Los Angeles Laker, insert whatever, Dallas Cowboys from the 90s, spending whatever you wanted to spend, expectation levels. And with those amounts of income that you are paying your student athletes, man, that's hard to say.
That's easy to say. You said it really well.
No, it's not.
It just flowed right out.
It didn't. Your expectation is there. And if you ask our resident Yankee fan, Jamie Lent, they went to the World Series last year and lost to the eventual World Series champion. If you ask him if it was a good year last year, his answer is no. If you were to ask me if the Chicago White Sox made it to the playoffs, would I call it a successful year? Yes, absolutely I would, because of how bad they have been. For when you are at this level, that is the line. There is no substitute for that line, and if things don't make that line, it was a bad year.
You know, years ago, went to a Texas Tech Media Day.
Uh-huh.
Was asking all the players, what are your expectations for this season? And it was a bunch of, we just want to be in a bowl game. We want to get to 6-6, be in a bowl game. And then the following year, you get some transfers in, and it was immediately flipped. We want to win.
Yeah.
Our expectation is to win every game. I would expect a united front today with anybody you talk to, if you ask them what are your goals for this season, to say to be back in Arlington. I think that's a pretty ubiquitous across the roster goal, which is good. I want the team to have those expectations because the fan base, and obviously you and other people on this station have that expectation. So as long as it's aligned and a legitimate goal, I don't think it's crazy to have that expectation or standard.
Everybody wants to win. These guys need to go win. And that's different. They need to not shoot themselves in the foot. They need to not get the... And at times this happened, not all the time, but at times it happened last year where here we go again with the defense. Offense gets the lead, defense gives it right back. And the offense would struggle, and then you were starting to have to dig yourself out of a hole. That can't happen. And I don't mean that the defense can't struggle, but the here we go again attitude needs to be gone immediately. We're going to go make the next play because it's our job to go make the next play. Whether you're on offense, defense, special teams, or the signal caller in the box, you've got to go make the next play if something goes wrong. And you've got to get past your own mistakes so you don't make one mistake turn into 4.
Yeah. All right, so we will have some interviews today, I believe, kind of playing it by ear there. If somebody's available, we'll grab them and get them on.
Sure.
Choice Woodman, Jamie Lent on site. They'll be live.
Who do you think will do a better job getting us interviews, Choice or Jamie?
I don't know. Jamie's more authoritative, I would say.
I think Jamie will do a better job.
Yeah. Because
Jamie will be looking for people to get us to talk to. Choice will be looking for people that he can talk to.
Maybe so. No, I think Choice is locked in. But they'll be live from noon to 3 with the bottom line from Big 12 Media Days. So don't go anywhere. We'll also give you our preseason media poll that the Big 12 doesn't want.
I should pull that up.
So we'll do. Well, you got some time. We'll do that in the second hour.
I just got to get it ready.
We'll also have some Lucas burning questions.
Okay.
Because he has to do them for the next 2 weeks.
Why does Lucas have punishment?
Yeah, well, we bet on the Orioles Rangers.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was dumb. On your part.
Well, I don't know.
Chicago White Sox.
I wouldn't have bet them to win.
I wouldn't bet on the Rangers except for that. More after this. 100.7 The Score.
Playing time is not required. This is the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back. 100.7 The Score. It is the End of the Bench. The Big 12 live at Media Days. Now, there was no preseason media poll.
Correct.
Top 16. But there was an all Big 12 team.
Yes.
Not shocking that there are more defenders than offensive players for Texas Tech on the list. It was moderately shocking, though, just with the history of the school and the program, that there were 3 defenders and 0 offensive players on the all preseason list.
Agree.
Is the defense going to be better than the offense in 2025?
Yes.
Now, I don't know how you quantify that, really. I guess just total rankings.
I think the defense will be able to impose their will on other offenses in the Big 12, specifically with the defensive line. I have bought in cautiously, very, very cautiously, bought into you may have the 3rd best defensive line in the country.
I keep seeing that.
And I keep seeing it too.
And that's like the Georgias, the Alabamas,
and us.
Potentially like Clemson, and then,
like 3rd or 4th. Like the lowest I think I've seen it ranked is 5th.
Yeah. And
nobody in the Big 12 is above that. And I am a big enough fan of football to know that if you've got guys that can impose their will on the defensive line, like that ranking says you should, your defensive line will eat the other team's offense.
That would be awesome.
I would be a fan.
That would be awesome. Obviously, David Bailey, Lee Hunter, and Jacob Rodriguez named to the all preseason Big 12 football team. Jacob Rodriguez, the all Big 12 preseason defensive player of the year. Arizona State, I think, had 5. Baylor had 4. Texas Tech, Iowa State with 3. And both Texas Tech and Iowa State, 3 defenders. So that's 6 of the 11 defenders from Texas Tech and Iowa State. I think historically, at least in the last decade, recent history, Iowa State's defenses have been good every year to varying degrees. Sometimes the best in the conference. And I think they have that reputation, certainly in the secondary. But they've had some good defensive linemen as well. But I think if you're just listing, hey, who's going to be the best defensive line, who's going to be the best edge in the Big 12? David Bailey's in the top 3. I think if you say who's going to be the best interior defender in the Big 12, Lee Hunter's in the top 3, along with Iowa State's Orange and Cincinnati's Corleone. I think if you say who's going to be the best linebacker in the Big 12, Jacob Rodriguez is in the top 3, and he's not 3rd or 2nd. And, oh, by the way, you have freshman All-American Ben Roberts, who was really good when he had 2 good defensive tackles in front of him. What's going to happen this year when he has 2 good defensive tackles in front of him? Oh, by the way, you have John Curry, who was pretty good in stretches last year. And then it just, I guess, depends on the secondary. And you had an influx of talent there, too. So I think Texas Tech could have, I mean, if I said top 5 defense, you'd be pretty along with that, right? Top 5 defense in the Big 12? That's not crazy to say.
Take a top 5?
No, I'm just saying top 5. You say yes.
Oh, they are top 5, yes. Okay.
Top 3?
Yes. Yeah.
Top 2?
Yeah, and I probably would stop there.
Okay.
Because of that defensive line. Like, that is such a trump card for a defense to be able to have. You know, if you've got a absolute shutdown corner, it's that same kind of concept. Because that eliminates half the field. That one guy can eliminate half the field for the opposing team. If you've got a defensive line that can absolutely go eat an offensive line where they're having to use extra blockers to block your 4, stuff that's happened to us over the last, hang on, 20, 25, 30 years. when you are able to get pressure rushing 3 against their 5, that means you've got more guys in coverage. They are having to put more guys in blocking, so that's less guys going out in coverage. That makes your entire defense better. Simply being able to get pressure with your three-man front. And then you throw in the spicy one and you make it a four-man front. And then you bring a little bit more pressure, and then you're getting that guy knocked back. And a 3rd and 25 or a 3rd and 15 is exponentially harder to pick up. Now, granted, we saw it happen last year, but exponentially harder to pick up than the 3rd and 2.
And I think Shieldwood excels in those positions as well because he's a guy who defends the sticks.
Yeah.
You know, with DeRuyter at some points on 3rd and long, you just saw him go zero pressure or kind of strand his men out on the edges. I don't think you're going to do that. And that had worked
the previous 2 years.
And when you went 6-6, the defense gave up 27 points a game. The problem was you scored 26.5.
Right.
I don't think the offense will have those struggles this year. So I think you could argue Texas Tech is a top 3 defense. I think you could argue them as a top 3 offense, even without any preseason all Big 12 guys. Even if you're a top 5 offense and a top 2 defense, top 3 defense, that creates some opportunities. Now,
yes.
If you're a top 8 offense and a top 1 defense, that's Iowa State territory. And then you
can have a lot of success there.
And then you're looking at one score games. And you could have a coin flip 7-5, 10-2 season. It's like, well, if you get that one drive or that one score, or you make that one more stop, even though you stopped them 17 times that game and it was 11-12.
I mean, you're also in that territory of the defense may have to get a score. And by that, I mean you stop them so deep, the offense gets the ball and they're already in field goal range.
But I think the offense will be better than 8th, obviously. So if we're,
I hope so.
So if we're obviously doing a little spoiler alert on where we think Texas Tech will finish, are there any other teams that you think really stack up roster-wise as we move into the second hour of trying to figure out a preseason poll?
Roster-wise, I think you are on par with the top of the conference. I think you are not above the top of the conference roster-wise. I also know that, and I'm a firm believer, until you beat them, I am not picking you above Kansas State. I don't care if Kansas State goes over a year and you don't play them that year and you play them the next year. I am still not picking Kansas State below Texas Tech because you have not slayed that dragon.
Man, that week 0 game with Iowa State is so intriguing.
It'll
be a national spectacle too.
But we got to get there first. And ultimately, it comes down to, can you slay that monster that has owned you in a Big 12 championship game? Can you do it twice in a year? That's a lot to ask. I think you can. I think you are capable. I think you have the potential. Am I betting on it? I am absolutely not. I am staying away from that game at all cost.
Yeah. That's Iowa State and Kansas State week 0. That'll be a big one. I've had several people say whoever loses that game is going to have a tough time getting to the Big 12 title game. I think everybody will have a Big 12 loss. It just so happens that it's going to be your first one. And there is some battle back, but I don't foresee the team that loses that game is just out of the title picture. I think that's ridiculous. All right, we'll continue on potentially with a high-level quarterback from the Big 12 outside of Texas Tech when we come back. Potentially.
Okay.
100.7 Score. It's the end of the bench.
Definitely not the starters. You're on the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score.
100.7 The Score. It's the end of the bench. Big 12 Media Days in action already. If you're looking around at what to watch, where to watch, obviously listen live to The Bottom Line. 12 to 3 today. They'll be live, getting interviews and otherwise. The rest of today on this show, potentially some interviews, including the preseason Offensive Big 12 Player of the Year, college football playoff star Sam Leavitt from Arizona State. Sam, how you doing, man?
Doing good. How you doing?
Good. Appreciate you joining us. All right, so you transferred into Arizona State last year, picked dead last in the Big 12, and you do what you did. Talk about that run, that ride, how important it was for not only the program but your career heading in and kind of changing the culture.
Yeah, I mean, just for Coach Dillingham to have that success in his second year was crucial for him and his career, and for me to be, help be a catalyst for that. It's pretty special just because I have so much love for the guy, and he's put so much hard work into this and hard work into me and the team. And then for my career, obviously just having success and playing is always going to improve, everything that I'm trying to accomplish as a individual. So last year was one step closer to where I want to be.
Sam, what was the biggest takeaway you had from last year in the Big 12 going into this year?
I would just say, every game's kind of up for grabs. It doesn't matter where you're ranked. We were ranked 16th, and we had about 5 games where, we could have won or lost, and we ended up winning all 5 of them. And, it's just a testament to our team, the way that we close out games, our mental strength and everything to do with that, and our camaraderie as a team. So I'd say it's, the fact that every game can go any direction.
Now, I don't want to pick here, Sam, at your one regular season loss as a Big 12 quarterback last year, but this is a Texas Tech interview. So what was it like playing in Lubbock last year and then to bounce back from the loss and kind of go on a run? I know the team also lost to Cincinnati, but you weren't starting in that game.
Yeah, it was early on in the season. That's kind of what I like to say. And, it was kind of crazy. We had, 2 kicks out of bounds. Offense wasn't playing good. Defense wasn't playing good. So it kind of just felt like everything was folding. And it was, our first away game in a Big 12 situation, and my first real road start playing with this group of guys. So it was definitely a situation that kind of woke us up and helped us with the rest of our season.
What's it mean to you to get the preseason accolades that you've gotten this year off of last season's success?
It's bittersweet because you like to see it, and you like to see the work that you put in and things that you accomplish. Help benefit you from how people view it now, which is all cool. But at the end of the day, we were ranked 16th last year, and nobody believed in us. So projections really mean nothing. And for me, it's just going out and getting it every single day. I was just talking to Coach Dilly the other day about first round projections, and they're like 20% effective. So it really doesn't mean too much. Just kind of adds extra stress on your back where you got to go out and get it.
Heading into 2025, you're trying to repeat some success now. You go from the hunter to the hunted a little bit as a preseason favorite, odds-on in the Big 12. But you do lose Cam Scadaboo. Offensively, you lose a couple of more guys. Defensively, lots of returners. What are your expectations for this season?
My expectations, I don't really like to put expectations. I kind of put goals. So my goal is to win a national championship, and that's what I've said this whole time. And, last year I said to win a Big 12 championship, and everyone thought I was crazy. And I just think there's so many teams that have a possibility of winning the Natty, especially with the college football playoffs now. It's just a situation where you go in and win a few games, and you're up to that last game, and, then anything can go any direction. But we definitely have a possibility to go do something special, but none of that's going to happen without putting in the work every single day.
All right, one more question for you. It's Arizona State, it's Texas Tech, Kansas State, Iowa State, Baylor kind of leading the way here. What makes Arizona State special just as a program in the Big 12, as a leader?
I'd say it's the fact that, we were ranked 16th last year, and we did what we did because, we got a bunch of guys that got so much, we all got a big chip on our shoulder, and, we all got a lot of love for each other. So I'd say it's team camaraderie, and the way that we go about that, everybody loves to hang out with each other, and the way that we compete in practice is pretty special. So we need to continue to do that and, up that even more.
Is there a game on the schedule you're looking forward to especially?
Texas Tech.
All right. Appreciate your time, Sam.
Thank you.
That was Sam Leavitt, preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. Looking forward to Texas Tech. That's, as a starting unit, the only game he lost last year in the Big 12, obviously the playoff game, but
sure,
They ran through the Big 12. They tripped up against Cincinnati without Sam Leavitt, but we talk about Texas Tech kind of having a target, and certainly through this offseason with the transfer portal and otherwise, they'll be the favorites, and I'm sure some teams will be wanting to knock off the NIL Kings. But I do think that Arizona State game has some special flavor as a loss from last year with the Big 12 teams.
Yeah, you would hope that the first games that get circled for anybody is a team you lost to last year. That we need to make up for that loss. And I would hope Texas Tech is doing the same thing, but also knowing that you would be circling Arizona State because they won the league last year. Although I'm going to ask you this question, though, Rob. How much do you think their coaching staff and PR department was stressing, hey, we were picked last year and we won it? That's the comment you're going to keep repeating today. I have a feeling they were reminded of that a lot after that few minutes we had with Sam.
Yeah, I really like Sam Leavitt.
I do too. I'm not hating on him.
I think Big 12 preseason offensive player of the year, Big 12 first teamer. I do think he is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. A little bit underrated last year, but I think it's his arm and his legs that really get it done. And Scadaboo's a big loss, but they get the kid in from Army who was a 1,000-yard rusher last year. I think Arizona State will be back. Maybe not as good because they did get some opportunities last year that good teams get, and they took advantage of them. I'll be very intrigued to see what Arizona State does this year. Very intrigued.
Well, I can't tell you yet how good I think they're going to be because we got to wait 7 more minutes. I do not expect them to fall much. I think I can safely say that without giving too much away of our big Double T 97.3 and 100.7 The Score media poll that will be published here in about 7 minutes on DoubleTSportsNetwork.com. It is going to be a dogfight in the Big 12 that if you are not ready to go every single game, you are going to knock yourself out of contention. Arizona State is one of those teams this year that you can knock yourself out of contention with just one loss.
You also just look up and down schedules. I think Arizona State has a schedule to be competitive.
Yep.
In the Big 12. All right, as we move on into the second hour, obviously a couple of more interviews here for the rest of the show. We've got about 2 hours left. We'll do some burning questions at some point, potentially at 10:30. We'll have some highs and lows at some point, potentially 10:15. And then we'll get to our Big 12 off-the-record rogue preseason poll.
I think it's on the record.
The one they didn't want to do.
It's on the record.
Well, it's on the record, Double T 97.3, but off the Big 12 record.
Well, that's,
The Big 12 didn't want it, Jeff.
We're
doing it anyways.
Right, yeah.
That'll be in the 11 o'clock hour.
That's because the people wanted it.
We're for
live.
The people. It will be live on Double T 97.3 at 10 a.m.
Who do you think of our staff has the most different standings than everybody else? Who do you think has gone the most obscure with their rankings?
Chuck.
Somehow, and I don't know why, I'm really thinking David Collier.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
And I'm not saying that his will be bad, but
right.
His will be just enough different than everything. You're like, oh, that's David's bracket.
I would assume, I don't know how Clint put this together, but I would assume you just get a total bracket and not everyone's individuals. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But if he has a chance to make fun of everybody, I think he would take it. So
Maybe.
All of ours will be published.
We'll see how he publishes it. 100.7 The Score. See you to the bench.
Playing time is not required. This is the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back, 100.7 The Score. It is the End of the Bench. Big 12 Media Days going on as we welcome on former FCS All-American, two-time national champion. Too long of accolades list to mention all of them, but Cole Wisniewski, now Red Raider, safety, joining us. How you doing, man?
Good. How you guys doing?
Excellent. Pretty good. Excited for Media Days. It's always a fun time. Your first Big 12 Media Days, how's it going so far?
It's unreal. The setup they have here, what they've put on for the players, the amount of coverage that's here. It's really cool to see everything that's come together here.
When you signed on to join the Red Raiders this year, you're going to get this question a lot, but what was the key thing that made you want to have your last year of eligibility here?
Yeah, when I was looking for a school, I wanted to go somewhere that anything that I wanted to accomplish, I could be the best version of myself possible. And when I came on my visit, I met the coaches, saw the facilities that were just built. I knew that there was nothing that wouldn't be possible. I was going to be able to be the absolute best version of myself within the confines of Texas Tech, and I was really sold even before I left. And so, yeah, extended my visit an extra day and committed on the spot.
So you're from North Dakota State. That's where you had the All-American season. You start as a linebacker. You kind of grow into a safety. How does that experience translate to the FBS level, to the D1 level here at Texas Tech?
Yeah, I mean, I think playing both backer and safety, especially in that kind of defense, it just helps give me an all-around perspective of the game. I can see kind of the fits, the way they're coming, within a second of the ball being snapped, because I've seen it from so many angles. I a lot of times have an idea of where the play's going, where the ball's going to hit, and that helps a ton, especially when you come to this level, and especially in a conference like the Big 12 where it's a lot more air raid. Luckily, I've played a lot of ball. I've played a lot of different teams where the style of play is pretty similar to stuff I've seen before. So just seeing it from the linebacker perspective, seeing it from the safety perspective, and everywhere in between there, from the field backer position as well, it's helped me a lot to be able to kind of have experience, know what's coming, and not feel like I'm ever in a position that I haven't been in before.
You are in a unique position because you see these guys every single day, but how salty is this defensive line?
Yeah, it's a great bunch. I mean, these guys they're deep too. I think who you see starting, they're going to be a bunch of animals, but then you go to the two deep, and there's not much of a downhill slope there at all. It's a bunch of absolute animals that are ready to get after whatever the opposition is. I mean, they're a group that has a lot of pride in what they do, and you can see it in the way they work, the way they compete. It's going to be a lot of fun to see them do what they do, and I think the secondary is going to be able to reap the benefits of how good of a group the D-line is.
We were talking about this earlier. It's a new experience for us as well because we've not seen Sheil Wood as the Texas Tech defensive coordinator. In your experience at North Dakota State, you're a bit of a ball hawker once you move back to safety. Is the opportunity going to be there to just get a bunch of turnovers because of the defensive line, because some rush passes? Or is it going to be more of a defense that sits back and waits and just keeps the ball in front of them?
I mean, it depends. There's time in football where both is necessary. You can't just have one without the other. But it's going to be a both and. There's going to be takeaways because the secondary is changing the picture and the quarterback's not going to know exactly what's hitting them. But I would, if I had to go out and on a limb and guess, most of the takeaways this year through the air at least are going to be because of the pressure and the quarterback not having a ton of time to make his reads and go through his progression and make an early decision with the ball. That's going to be a poor decision, and that's going to be the massive turnovers this year is going to be because of that defensive line. Even when pressures aren't dialed up, they're going to be able to get home and get pressure on the quarterback and make his operation speed up.
So I'm going to have you take the 30,000-foot view here, okay? You're describing the Texas Tech defense in 2025 to someone who has never watched football before. How would you describe it?
As in what people are going to see this year?
Yes.
What to expect?
Yeah.
For a person who's never seen football, it's going to look like a bunch of dogs going after the last meat on a bone. It's going to be guys flying around trying to get to the ball and celebrating when they get to the ball. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to look like guys it's going to look like all 11 just absolutely flying around and trying to find the ball, get on a pile, get the ball down, and celebrating when they're running off the field.
I see you're suited and booted here, jersey, sleeve, gloves. Do you have a favorite uniform combo that you're looking forward to this year?
I mean, I've had it on the all black twice, and we had it on for the spring game and now for media day, and it is pretty sweet. I like it a lot. Hopefully it's a night game when we wear it. That the Lubbock sun is a little different. So, but I love it. I think it looks super clean. You can't go wrong with all black.
You can in September at 11 at a noon kick. I'm just going to warn you.
I did say it. I did put that disclaimer out. I hope it's a night game.
So
other than that, it looks very clean.
It does. It is a clean look. I'm going to ask you this question: why number 5?
It was only single digit left. I've never been a single digit before. I was 10 in high school, 31 at North Dakota State. Wanted to switch it up a little bit. My brother was number 6, so I guess I one-upped him a little bit in a sense when he was in college. But no, I just thought it would be a cool number to wear. I like the way it looks, and I don't know, it's cool. It's a good secondary number, I feel like.
All right, expectations high for Texas Tech. Obviously, you're part of the number 1 portal class coming in. What is the expectation inside the locker room for this team?
I don't think we really – I mean, when you really look at it within the locker room on the day-to-day, the guys are just trying to be the best they can be on the day-to-day. I mean, we're not thinking too far down the line. We have workouts ahead of us, workouts tomorrow, workouts Thursday, workouts Friday, and that's really what we have to get in. We got to be the best team we can be day in, day out, and that's what from the media perspective, 100%, you guys got to make your guesses on how everything's going to go this year. Inside the locker room, we're just trying to win the day every single day. We're trying to be the best players we can be, the best team we can be day in, day out. So I don't think anyone's looking too far ahead of themselves, but if the pressure gets on, it's a privilege, but other than that, we're just trying to be the best team, best players we can be day in, day out.
I love that answer. Joey is saying you're going to be back in Arlington, so
that's funny.
There's some expectations there as well.
I mean, that would be, of course, like that's the end goal, and that's what the day in, day out work is going for. But within the locker room on the day-to-day, within the team, the guys in the locker room, the one and knows happen in the off season, happens before the game's played, and that's I think what we're really focusing on throughout our workouts, throughout our player-led practices. Is we're trying to do everything to the standard, the expectation of what's going to win us games, and if the work goes well, I would expect us to win, and the work's been going really, really well so far.
All right, appreciate your time, Cole. We'll be back after this with more Into the Bench, 100.7 The Score.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Playing time is not required. This is the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back, 100.7 The Score. It's the End of the Bench Big 12 Media Days now officially live. And we've got Matt Berry, Greg McElroy, SEC guy, and was that Brock Osweiler? Is that Big 12 legend Brock Osweiler? Didn't he go to Arizona State?
Yeah.
And Greg McElroy famously almost went to Texas Tech.
Almost.
So just a couple of Big 12 quarterbacks there, Greg McElroy and Brock Osweiler. I didn't know Brock Osweiler was in the media game. I bet he's pretty good. And you have a representative of Arizona State there. That's nice. Is Greg McElroy, they got to get somebody credible as a Big 12 guy. And maybe Greg McElroy can be that guy.
They need a friend.
He's on the SEC network quite a bit.
They need the Big 12 football side. ESPN needs a friend.
Sure, yes.
That's
certainly.
Somebody that just picks up the bucket and says, this is my bucket. I am going to carry this bucket, and watch me how awesome I can be carrying this bucket.
Certainly, and if you're – it doesn't necessarily equate because Fran calls Big 12 games. Sure. He didn't call anything else. In this, it's like they're working for ESPN. Fran does too, but they've got a Big 12 dedicated guy. This, you're probably still calling other games. You're just calling your slot on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
They need a studio guy. They need to hire some studio guy to be a studio analyst if they're going to be putting out content on YouTube or otherwise. And maybe
that just does Big 12.
Yeah, that just does Big 12. Because I believe McElroy's on the SEC network.
I mean, they don't care, like ESPN doesn't, because we're going to watch, because we're Big 12
I want
fans.
the Big 12 to hire somebody.
Yeah.
I want the Big 12 to care. But I think this group's good. I'm not listening to them right now. But all right, let's do some burning questions here, Lucas.
2 minutes of non-stop in-your-face inquiries with no end in sight. It's time for Burning Questions.
If you're cooking breakfast and you have pancakes, eggs, bacon, and grits, what's the first thing you cook?
What's the first thing I cook? I would in that perspective, I'd probably go grits first, and then put them on the back burner, because those take the longest and they're the most time intensive, just because you got to stir them the whole time.
Sure. I've never made grits.
Yeah, it's just a lot of stirring.
I'm sure I could. It's never been something I've made.
And then once they're done, they can sit forever. And
so I'm going to follow your lead on that one, but my first thought was the bacon, because we're making a pound of bacon. Not all of it's going to make it to the table. I know that.
Sure.
You know that.
Yeah, chef's
Every
treat.
dog is going to know that. Like, I've made this joke before, and it's only a joke because it involves me and my dog. My dog, every time I make bacon, looks at me like, why don't we do this every day? I haven't come up with a good answer yet.
I'm just generally an oven bacon guy. So I guess technically I'm putting that in the oven first,
okay,
and then moving on to everything else.
I will say after, though, the last thing that gets done there is the eggs. Right? It was pancakes, eggs, bacon, and grits, because cold eggs suck.
Eggs are last. Let me ask you this. Bacon, one is barely done but cooked and chewy. 10 is like burnt. Where are you cooking your bacon to?
Anywhere between like a 2.5 to 5 is where I'm generally shooting for. I will eat up to 7.
Sure.
If that is what is given to me. And if you hand me an 8 or higher, you are getting, if I'm at a restaurant, it is going back and saying, I appreciate the thought, but can I get bacon instead of whatever this is?
All bacon is good. Even like you touch it and it cracks apart bacon.
Yep. But when it gets black.
But I'm like a 3. I like chewy bacon.
I'm a crispy bacon guy.
Now, on burgers, I like a crispier bacon. Like if I'm doing bacon cheeseburgers.
So you're not pulling out the whole
So I'm not pulling out the whole thing of bacon. Because I want a little bacon with everything. Yes.
Yeah. Which sport has the best walk-off? Is it a walk-off three-pointer? Is it a walk-off homer? Is it a game-winning touchdown? Which sport has the best walk-off?
Man. The touchdown in overtime to seal it is awesome. The long touchdown, like Tim Tebow, 60 yards to, who was that? Emmanuel Sanders in the playoffs against the Steelers.
Yeah.
Was awesome.
That is cool.
But I'd probably just go baseball here.
As a sport, baseball is my absolute favorite. But when you can connect on a 62-yard field goal off the rocket that Jonathan Garibay puts up, because that ball is in the air for 4 seconds, and you are just watching it, and everybody is holding their breath, and everybody is wondering if it's going to go through the uprights. Your first thought is, does it have the distance? Okay, it's got the distance. Is he on point? Is he on point? And then you look at the ref. That whole thing there, I will take that as a drug and put that into my veins. And I will also be the first person to tell you, hearing they were lining up for the 62-yard field goal, my first thought was, what on God's green earth do they think they're doing?
Yeah, kick 6.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then come in and see it go through the uprights.
Pretty awesome.
Like, that was, give me that right now.
What would you say, Lucas?
I'd say walk-off homer. I think that, every sport has obviously their special, but I think the walk-off homer is most electrifying, especially it's at home, bottom of the ninth, something like that. Yeah. So So at what age is it acceptable to leave your kid at home? First, when the parent is doing a quick store run, and 2, when they're going to be gone overnight.
3 non-parents here.
Okay, so no. The first answer depends on the kid. I have seen kids that you could leave alone at 6 for a quick run to the store. I have seen kids that I wouldn't trust to leave the house if they were 18. Like that, and I don't have any kids.
So you're going 12?
The
average?
Anywhere. It depends on it honestly depends on the kid. My sister and I were different. Same parents, same house growing up. You could have left my sister home alone when she was probably 6. I don't know that you would have trusted me when I was 6. I think I was 8 or 9 before you would probably have trusted me to sit at the house for a quick run to the grocery store kind of concept. Overnight, no. There will be a parent there. There will be somebody taking care of them, or they are going with me overnight. No.
Like, at what age, though? Like
18?
When they go to college.
Okay.
Like, no. There is a parent there at night. There is somebody there. There is an adult there at night. They can drive them to the hospital if everything goes badly. Even if they can drive. If it goes badly, they can't drive, and somebody needs to be there.
Yeah, I would certainly say if they can drive, probably a little closer to sticking around by themselves. But yeah, I don't know. Quick run to the store.
Long date night, absolutely. You don't need a babysitter for that. But if it's going to be like you're leaving at noon on Tuesday and not coming back until afternoon on Wednesday, there's got to be somebody that's there.
We'll have some parents chime in on the chat.
If you have a
here.
sibling that's like 16, 17, would you let them supervise a younger sibling overnight?
Really, I'm on the no.
Let them go.
You get it for an overnight trip. You get a babysitter, even if family members close. You can stay the night at somebody's house, like on the weekend kind of concept. But there is an adult present.
Playing time is not required. This is the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back, 100.7 The Score. It's the End of the Bench. Maybe the biggest revelation here from Big 12 Media Day so far, beyond Yormark kind of doubling down that he wants international games. It's a global conference, which obviously is an answer to a question about the game in Ireland.
Yes.
But there have been conversations about Mexico basketball games and otherwise. And you certainly see that in the NFL with Germany and London and
Sure.
all kinds of places. But maybe the biggest, I don't want to call it a bombshell, but Jake Retzlaff's still on the BYU roster, and it seems like Kalani Sitake was kind of thinking that he might stick around Retzlaff. And at that point would play the back half of the season. Maybe they've structured it in a way that with the case being dropped, the suspension would be reduced. Probably not eliminated, but Retzlaff in the transfer portal. But I don't ever think he got officially in the portal. So it could be that Retzlaff is retained by BYU.
I had no problem with him transferring. I had no problem with BYU suspending him. That is their policy. It is no different than if a player gets suspended at school X because you were caught with illegal substances, or school Y because you got a speeding ticket. Okay? Every school has their own rules and regulations that you have to follow in order to be part of the program. Now, I am also of the mindset that Jimmy Johnson had when he was the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. There are different rules for different players. That is a fact of nature. It is a fact of life. It is a fact of the working environment. I have to follow rules that not everybody else in this building has to follow. I don't have to follow some rules that others have to follow. It's the nature of the world. So I kind of don't want BYU to release that suspension because he wasn't suspended because of the court case.
Right.
He was suspended because of evidence that came out of the court case.
And it's on the honor code.
Yeah. And I have no issue with their honor code. And I actually have more respect for them for following it. They're going to lose that respect from me if they let it slide because of the court case being done and bring him back.
Well, I added the second half of that. He didn't say anything about the court case.
Okay.
But he is still officially on the team, and they're not talking like he's gone. So he might just return and play 6 games. And that would be a 7-week suspension.
Yeah.
And that would be the original thing, and then he'd play in the back half. Or there could be some things moved around. And I think initially it was going to be a 3, and then I heard 5, and then 7. I would assume if he does return, there will be some sort of suspension. But it could be that he's just suspended.
He's going to be suspended for the first half of the first 3 games, and then we'll do a quarter in the next 2 games, and then we'll figure out from there.
Do you remember the Kyler Murray suspension?
That's exactly the one I mean.
He's out of 1 play.
Yes.
And then he came in.
Yeah.
He just couldn't start the game.
Yeah.
And then I think Johnny Manziel was suspended a quarter and came back like mid-drive in their second drive of the game.
Yep. There are.
So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe would you put BYU higher if Retzlaff was returning, even if just for 5-6 games?
Yes. I mean, not a lot higher if it's just 5 or 6 games, but I would put him higher.
Certainly, they would be the back half of the Big 12 games, which would be more important than the first 3.
Than the first games. I would probably 3 slots up, if not 4.
Of the coaches coming up today, Kleiman, Scott Satterfield, Scott Frost, Dave Aranda, Kenny Dillingham, Matt Campbell at the podium now. Sataki already was up there. Do you have any questions that you just would want to get out there for one of these guys? I would like to ask Chris Kleiman about going to Ireland and what he thinks about playing a Big 12 game to open the season.
See, I think those questions are going to get asked.
Oh, sure, but if
I don't need to be the
was
one to
first,
ask them.
well,
no,
I just don't have anything else to ask them.
I would love to ask these guys the reverse of the Texas Tech question. Not the can you believe what Texas Tech is doing? The what are you doing to compete with that?
Yeah.
And what are you doing? What's the conversations with your donors like to change the situation you guys have to have you equal to what Texas Tech is doing in the transfer portal and in the NIL and the collectives and everything else? Because you have to know, as a coach, as an administrator, as everything else going on, this is the way of the world now.
Yep. Satterfield, I would probably just lean into the pressure of there's no preseason poll, but you're probably in the back half, and it hasn't really come together yet for you here at Cincinnati. The Luke Fickell era was so great. They were going to playoffs, and you've struggled to kind of acclimate yourself in this sport of football in the Big 12. What are your plans to do so, to take a step forward? I think there's a lot of questions about Scott Frost coming home.
Yeah.
That will be asked. I mean,
Sure.
those kind of write themselves. Obviously, Kenny Dillingham, the pressure, the repeat, the hunted to hunted kind of questions will dominate that press conference. Dave Aranda's is interesting because he was on the hot seat at least twice in his Baylor tenure. Legitimately, don't win this week, you get fired. He survived one of the years and then goes into the season on a hot seat, starts awful last year, and then wins 6 straight. Gets right in Lubbock.
So tired of hearing that.
And then you have another season. Like, he was awful during COVID. I think, 2-9?
Yeah.
And then is playing for a Big 12 championship the following year. Won the Big 12 title over Oklahoma State in that season. So just the up and down nature of Aranda's tenure, I'd like to get a couple of thoughts on that. Now, Aranda is one of those guys who is philosophical and boring at the press table.
Yes.
I think we'll get some good quotes from Dillingham. But the rest of these guys, I don't know that anybody gives a quote like Joey and Dillingham.
Dion.
Well, but he's not there today.
Oh, you're talking about today's guys.
Yeah,
okay,
today's
sorry.
guys.
And Sonny's not Sonny.
Sonny's tomorrow.
Sonny's tomorrow. Okay.
I think Rich Rod will give some good quotes. Gundy's tomorrow. Like, you have Gundy, Rich Rodriguez, Sonny Dykes, and Deion Sanders all tomorrow.
That's why you did your mark today.
Yeah, right. And is Deion going to be there?
Yes.
Okay.
That was a report we heard this morning that he would be there.
He's been out of practice and not with the team.
And not with the team
this spring because of a health related reason.
Could the health related reason be that he lost his Heisman Trophy wide receiver and defensive back, and his starting quarterback was also his son who didn't get drafted where he wanted to get drafted?
I'm not questioning his buy-in at this point.
Listen,
but those questions will come if he doesn't show up on time to fall camp.
Yeah. I absolutely think Deion can coach. I think the question for this offseason for him is, can you coach not your team? I mean, your son.
Can you lead a program?
And I think he can.
I don't know.
And he gets eyeballs on Colorado, as we talked about the other day.
That's true.
How long do those eyeballs stick around when you're losing?
It's a good question.
He also has a pretty good roster sitting there in Boulder for him. I mean, I wouldn't put them in the same tiers where you're at for a roster. I think they've definitely taken a step back. But that doesn't mean they're a bad roster. They just need their coach back.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob.
It's a good show.
I had a good time. Lucas had a good time, right?
Yes.
He did. Slyer.
All right. When we flip over to the bottom line, they'll be live from Big 12 Media Days. So we'll get out of their hair. For myself, Jeff McGuire, and Lucas White, we'll see you tomorrow.
This has been the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score. Go to 107thescore.com for more from the Double T Sports Network.